Good day. So in this video, we're going to discuss rational functions, equations, and inequalities. So let's have first a review. So when you were in your grade 10, nung grade 10 kayo, you have learned about polynomial functions. So let's have a quick review of what a polynomial function is. So a polynomial function p of degree n is a function that can be written in the form p of x is equal to a sub n x raised to n plus a sub n minus 1 x raised to n minus 1 plus a sub n minus 2 x raised to n minus 2 plus a sub 1x plus a sub 0. Where a sub 0, a sub 1, up to a sub n are elements of real numbers, and a sub n should not be equal to 0, and n is a positive integer. Okay, so dito tayo sa polynomial function. So i-review muna natin itong polynomial function bago tayo mag-proceed dun sa mismong topic natin. Okay, so sabi natin kanina, p of x is equal to a sub n, x raised to n plus a sub n minus 1, x raised to n minus 1 plus a sub n minus 2, x raised to n minus 2 plus a sub 1, x plus a sub 0. Okay. So itong a sub 0, itong a sub 0 natin, a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, up to a sub n, yan yung inyong mga numerical coefficients. Ibig sabihin, yan yung mga numerical coefficients ng bawat term na nandito sa inyong polynomial function. Kasi ang polynomial function, that is a set of terms. So ibig sabihin, itong a sub 0, a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, a sub n, those are numerical coefficients of the terms in the polynomial function. Next, itong a sub n, x raised to n, itong nandito sa una, yan, a sub n, x raised to n, yan po yung tinatawag nating leading term. Ibig sabihin, yan yung unang term dun sa inyong polynomial function. So a sub n, x raised to n is your leading term. Yun yung nasa una. Next, yung a sub n, nandito din sa unahan, a sub n, sabi natin kanina, yan yung numerical coefficient. So itong a sub n is the numerical coefficient of the leading term. Ibig sabihin, tinatawag natin siyang leading coefficient. Kasi siya yung coefficient ng leading term. And last one, a sub 0. Ando naman yung a sub 0 nasa dulo. Yung a sub 0 natin, yan yung tinatawag nating constant term. Ang mga constant term, kalimitan nandun sila sa dulo ng polynomial function. At kapag sinabi natin constant term, they are numbers, wala silang kasamang variables. Okay, for example, itong polynomial function na to. f of x is equal to 2x raised to 4 plus 2x cubed minus x squared plus 1. Okay, so ang numerical coefficient, the numerical coefficients, yan yung mga numbers na nandito sa bawat terms. Okay, so itong first term natin, ang numerical coefficient niya ay 2. Itong pangalawang term, ang numerical coefficient niya ay 2. Itong pangatlong term, ang numerical coefficient niya ay negative 1. So kapag wala kang nakikitang number na nandyan, automatic na merong 1 na nandito. So ang numerical coefficient ng pangatlong term ay negative 1. Itong last, ito yung tinatawag nating constant term. Kalimitang nasa dulo at number lang siya, walang kasamang variable. So the numerical coefficients in this polynomial function are 2, 2, negative 1, and the constant term which is positive 1. Next, ano yung leading term natin? Yung leading term, yun yung term na pinakanauna. So ang leading term natin ay 2x to the 4th. Next one, leading coefficient. Yan naman yung coefficient ng leading term. So anong coefficient nito? The coefficient is positive 2. And the constant term, syempre yung constant term natin, yung nandito sa dulo na number lang. So the constant term is positive 1. So yun yung tungkol sa polynomial function. Bakit natin nireview yung polynomial function? Kasi importante na malaman natin muna yung polynomial function kasi involved siya dito sa topic natin, which is rational functions. So i-define muna natin kung ano yung rational function. A rational function is composed of polynomial functions. Kaya kailangan muna natin magkaroon ng malinaw na pangunawa kung ano nga ba ang polynomial functions. Kasi ang rational functions, binubuo siya ng polynomial functions. A polynomial function may be described as a term or set of terms with non-negative integral exponents. Ibig sabihin, kahit iisang term lang yan, pwede natin siyang matawag na polynomial functions kasi sabi dito, it could be a term or set of terms with non-negative integral exponents. Ibig sabihin, ang isang polynomial function, hindi siya dapat magkaroon ng negative integral exponents. Also, hindi rin siya pwedeng magkaroon ng exponent na fraction. Okay, so let's have examples and non-examples of polynomial functions. So first example, f of x is equal to 2x to the 5th plus 1. Is it an example of polynomial function? Yes, it's a polynomial function. Since the exponent 5 is a positive integer. So itong exponent natin na 5 is a positive integer. Therefore, it's a polynomial function. Next one. F of x is equal to 1/5 x squared minus 8x plus 4. Is it an example of polynomial function? Ano yung mga bawal sa polynomial function? Dapat daw hindi tayo magkaroon ng negative na exponent or fractional exponent. Dito sa example natin, meron ba tayong exponent na negative? Wala. May exponent ba tayo na fraction? Wala din. So therefore, it's a polynomial function since the exponents 2, ito, and 1. Ito, ang exponent ng x ay 1. So the exponents 2 and 1 are both positive integers. Next example, h of x is equal to negative 15. So meron lang tayong iisang term, isang constant term. Is that an example of polynomial function? Yes. It is still an example of polynomial function since negative 15 comes from negative 15x raised to 0. Any number raised to 0 is equal to 1. So tignan natin dito. Negative 15 x raised to 0. Itong x raised to 0, it is equal to 1. Then, negative 15 times 1 is equal to negative 15. Meron ba tayong negative exponent? Wala po. May fractional exponent ba tayo? Wala din. So therefore, wala tayong na-violate na rule para sa polynomial function na to. Next example, f of x is equal to 3x raised to 1/4 plus 6. Do you think it is still an example of polynomial function? Yes or no? So the answer is, it's not a polynomial function. Why? Since the exponent 1/4 is not an integer. Yun, yung exponent natin na 1/4 is not an integer. So dapat, ang exponent lang natin sa polynomial function is a positive integer. Otherwise, it will not be a polynomial function. For our last example, g of x is equal to x raised to negative 4 minus 9. So obviously, it is not a polynomial function since the exponent negative 4 is negative. Although integer siya, pero it is a negative integer. So hindi pa rin pwede. Okay, so now that you have understand the concept of polynomial functions, we are now ready to study and discuss rational function. Okay, so a rational function is a function of the form f of x is equal to p of x divided by q of x, where p of x and q of x are polynomial functions and q of x is not equal to 0. So a rational function consists of polynomial functions. Yung numerator dapat polynomial function. Yung denominator dapat polynomial function din siya. At itong denominator should not be equal to 0. Bakit hindi pwedeng 0 yung denominator? Because in a rational function or rational expression, or even in a fraction, kapag 0 yung nasa denominator, it will be undefined. So hindi pwede na 0 yung nasa denominator part. Next, the domain of f of x is the set of all values of x where q of x is not equal to 0. Ibig sabihin yan, yung domain ng f of x ay set of all values of x where q of x is not equal to 0. So ito yung basic concept na dapat niyong tandaan every time na magre-represent kayo ng rational functions in real life situation. So, let's have an example. For example, meron tayong rational function. R of x is equal to 3x squared plus 2x minus 1 divided by x plus 1, where x should not be equal to negative 1. Therefore, r of x is a rational function. Ba't natin nasabi yun? Is the numerator 3x squared plus 2x minus 1 a polynomial? Polynomial ba siya? Yung numerator ba natin may negative na exponent? Wala po. May fractional exponent ba siya? Wala. Therefore, the numerator is a polynomial. Yes. Is the denominator x plus 1 a polynomial? Polynomial ba yung denominator natin na x plus 1? Wala naman tayong negative exponent dyan. Wala din tayong fractional exponent. Definitely, the denominator is a polynomial. A polynomial. So therefore, the function r of x is a rational function. So, why does the given give a restriction that x should not be equal to negative 1? Bakit meron tayong given dito na sinasabi niya na yung x ay hindi daw dapat maging equal sa negative 1? It's because if x will be negative 1, kaya nito, kapag yung x or yung value ng x natin ay naging negative 1, say we have r of negative 1, okay, that will be, the denominator will be negative 1 plus 1. And negative 1 plus 1 will result to 0. So magiging 0 ngayon yung denominator natin. So it will make the function undefined. So ang domain ng function na to ay set of all values of x except negative 1, kasi yung negative 1, yan yung magpapa-0 sa denominator. In this case, r of x will be undefined, sabi dito. Okay, so let us consider the following functions. Alin sa mga to ang rational function at alin ang hindi? Okay, example number 1. F of x is equal to 5 over x. Is this an example of a rational function or not? So the answer is, it's an example of rational function. Why? Both numerator and denominator are polynomials, and the denominator is not equal to 0. Yung numerator natin ay 5. It's a constant term, so considered as polynomial. Yung denominator natin ay x. Wala naman tayong exponent na negative. So therefore, both the numerator and denominator are polynomials, and the denominator is not equal to 0. Next example, f of x is equal to x cubed plus 2 divided by 0. Rational function or not? It's not a rational function. Obviously, because the denominator is equal to
0. That will make the function undefined. Although the numerator is a polynomial, but the denominator is equal to 0. Kaya siya hindi rational function. Next, f of x is equal to the square root of x plus 8 divided by x. Is this an example of rational function or not? The answer is not. It's not a rational function. Bakit? The expression is square root of x plus 8. This is a radical expression since meron siyang radical sign na nandyan. This expression can be written into an expression with fractional exponent. So itong square root of x plus 8 is equivalent to the quantity x plus 8 raised to 1 half. So in this case, magkakaroon tayo ng fractional exponent and that is not considered as polynomial. So ganito po yung ginagawa natin para lang maintindihan nyo. In converting a radical, tinatawag natin tong radical expression. In converting radical expression into an expression with fractional exponent, ganito pong ginagawa natin. Yung radicand, itong x plus 8, tinatawag natin yung radicand. Yan yung nasa ilalim or nasa loob ng radical sign. So kapag i-convert natin into an expression with fractional exponent, yung radicand magiging base. Kaya siya quantity x plus 8. Saan naman ang galing yung 1 half? Yung numerator na 1 na nandito, yan yung exponent or power ng radicand. So ang exponent ng x plus 8 ay 1. Ito namang denominator, itong denominator na nandito na 2. Galing yan dun sa index ng radical expression. Ang index na sinasabi natin, yan yung nandito sa v part ng radical sign. So kapag wala kang nakita na number na nandito sa radical sign, ibig sabihin yan, ang index mo ay 2. Kaya 2 yung denominator natin dito sa expression na to. Next example, f of x is equal to 2x to the 4th plus 2x cubed minus x squared plus 1 divided by x minus 2. Is it an example of polynomial function or rational function rather? Rational function ba to? Hindi. It's a rational function. Bakit? Kasi yung numerator natin is a polynomial function kasi wala naman kayong nakikitang negative exponent dito. Itong denominator is also a polynomial. So therefore, this is an example of rational function. Hindi rin naman 0 yung denominator natin. Last, f of x is equal to 12x cubed plus 9x squared plus x plus 10 divided by the square root of 5x plus 1. So, example ba to ng rational function o hindi? It's not an example of rational function because the denominator is not a polynomial. Paano natin nasabi na hindi siya polynomial? Kasi meron tayong expression na pwedeng magkaroon or pwede nating i-express as an expression with fractional exponent. So ganito po siya. Yung expression or yung radical expression natin na square root of 5x plus 1, pwede nating isulat sa form na to. Sa form na expression with fractional exponent. Yung radicand natin na 5x plus 1, naging base, ito, quantity 5x plus 1, at meron tayong fractional exponent. Yung numerator natin na 1 dyan, galing siya dito sa exponent or power ng radicand, At yung denominator natin na 2, galing yan sa index ng rational expression. Kapag square root sign, ang index natin ay 2. Kapag cube root, ang index mo ay 3. Kapag fourth root, ang index mo ay 4, and so on. So dito, sa example natin na to, since this is a square root, ang index mo ay 2, kaya ang denominator na nandito ay 2. Okay, so let's proceed in representing real-life situations using rational functions. Alam nyo na kung ano ang polynomial functions, alam nyo na kung ano yung mga example at hindi ng polynomial functions. Ganon din, alam nyo na kung ano ang rational function, at alam nyo na din yung mga examples and non-examples of rational functions. Okay, so proceed tayo dito sa representing real-life situations using rational functions. For our first example, rational functions can be applied to average speed. Okay, so alam nyo na ngayon kung ano yung mga function na mako-consider nating rational function at kung ano yung mga hindi. So this time, magre-represent tayo ng real-life situations using rational functions. Makikita natin dito kung ano nga ba ang mga real-life applications ng rational functions. So one of the examples is the average speed. So let's have our first example. The distance from Cavite to Baguio is around 285 kilometers. So, ang task natin is to construct a function S where S is the speed of the travel that describes the time it takes to drive from Cavite to Baguio. At ang pangalawang task natin, how long will it take you to get to Baguio if your average speed is 40 kilometers per hour? So sagutan muna natin yung problem na nauna, itong letter A. Okay. So the distance, yan yung problem, construct a function S where S is the speed of the travel that describes the time it takes to drive from Cavite to Baguio. Gamitin natin tong DST triangle para mas madali nating maalala yung formula in finding D, which is the distance, S stands for the speed, and T, which stands for time. So yung problem natin, pinapakonstruct tayo ng function na kung saan yung S ay yung speed or yung bilis ng biyahe that describes the time, yung oras, para makarating tayo sa Baguio, from Cavite to Baguio. So ang unknown natin dito ay time kasi pinapakonstruct tayo ng function which describes the time. Kaya ang unknown ay time. Kaya ang gagamitin nating formula ay T is equal to D over S. So ganito yung gamit ng ating DST triangle. So itong nandito sa taas, yan yung distance. Itong nasa kaliwa, yung speed. Itong nasa kanan, yung time. So kapag ang hinhanap natin or ang unknown ay distance, ang gagamitin natin ay distance is equal to S times T. Distance is equal to S, the speed, times the time. Kung ang hinahanap natin ay yung speed, ang formula na gagamitin natin ay S is equal to D over T. At kung ang hinahanap natin ay time, ang formula na gagamitin natin ay time is equal to distance divided by the speed. So yung problem na sasagutan natin, ang unknown ay time. So therefore, ang gagamitin nating formula ay T is equal to D over S. The problem is asking us to construct a function S na nagde-describe sa oras na magugugol sa biyahe from Cavite to Baguio. Therefore, that is T of S is equal to D of S. Ibig sabihin yan, yung time ay dependent sa speed. Meaning, yung oras ng biyahe from Cavite to Baguio ay nakadepende sa bilis ng pagpapatakbo. The distance is fixed, of course, at 285 kilometers. So, ang function na hinahanap natin ay T of S is equal to 285 divided by S. Therefore, T of S is equal to 285 divided by S is the function where S is the speed of travel that describes the time it takes to drive from Cavite to Baguio. Next, yung second task natin. To answer this question, let us use again the DST triangle. So dito sa problem natin, kailangan natin i-express yung velocity that is in V as a function of travel time in seconds. Ulitin po natin, yung problem letter B, how long will it take to get to Baguio if your average speed is 40 kilometers per hour? Since ang pinapahanap sa atin ay kung gaano katagal makakarating sa Baguio kung ang speed mo ay 40 kilometers per hour, ibig sabihin ang unknown pa rin ay time kasi ang tanong gaano katagal. So, using the DST triangle, ang formula pa rin na gagamitin natin ay ito. T is equal to D over S. So, ang given natin, the distance from Cavite to Baguio ay 285 kilometers. At yung speed na given ay 40 kilometers per hour. So, ang tanong, gaano ka daw katagal makakarating sa Baguio kung ang bilis ng pagpapatakbo mo ay 40. So, gamitin lang natin yung formula, T is equal to D over S. So, substitute lang natin itong mga given dito sa formula. Okay? So, that is T is equal to, the distance is 285 kilometers divided by the speed, which is 40 kilometers per hour. So therefore, T is equal to 7.125 hours. Example number 2. An object is to travel a distance of 10 meters. Express velocity, that is v, as a function of travel time t in seconds. To answer this question, let us use again the DST triangle. In our problem, kailangan natin i-express yung velocity that is in V as a function of travel time in seconds. Therefore, yung velocity that is the same as speed. So ang gagamitin nating formula ay S is equal to d over t to express the given problem. Okay, so S is equal to d over t. So speed, that is velocity in travel time, so that is v over t. Speed is equal to v of t. And then distance, that is 10 meters. And then time is in seconds. So therefore, speed, that is v of t, and the distance, that is 10 divided by t. So this will be our answer. Ito po yung function na hinahanap natin. V of t is equal to 10 over t. Dito tayo sa example number 3. Okay? Suppose that C of t is equal to 5t divided by t squared plus 1 in milligrams per milliliter represents the concentration of a drug in a patient's bloodstream t hours after the drug was injected. Construct a table of values for C of t for t is equal to 1, 2, 5, and 10. And then we're going to interpret the results. So, itong function po na to, itong C of t, yan po ay nagre-represent sa concentration ng gamot na na-inject sa isang tao after hours. After hours. So, ibig sabihin yan, yung concentration, para siyang gaano kalapot or gaano kakapal yung gamot after T hours na na-inject yung gamot sa patient's bloodstream. So, ang gagawin po natin, magko-construct po tayo ng table of values for C of T for T. Ang value ng T natin ay 1, 2, 5, and 10. Saka natin i-interpret yung results. So, solution, C of T is equal to 5T over T squared plus 1. So, construct po tayo ng table of values for C of t and t, wherein ang values ng t ay 0 muna, after 1 hour, after 2 hours, after 5 hours, after 10 hours. So, initially, at t is equal to 0, ibig sabihin hindi pa nai-inject yung drug sa patient's bloodstream. So kapag ang t natin ay 0, c of 0 is equal to 5 times 0 divided by 0 squared plus 1. C of 0 is equal to 0 divided by 1. C of 0 is equal to 0. So malamang, ang concentration ay 0 kasi hindi pa naman nai-inject yung gamot sa bloodstream ng pasyente. So that's 0. If t is equal to 1, so ibig sabihin, kinocompute natin ngayon dito kung ano yung concentration ng drug after 1 hour na nai-inject yung drug sa bloodstream ng tao. So, C of 1, gamit itong function natin, isubstitute lang natin yung value ng t, which is 1. So, C of 1 is equal to 5 times 1 divided by 1 square plus 1. So, that's equal to, C of 1 is equal to Yung 5 times 1 dito ay 5. 1 square is 1. So 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So therefore, C of 1 is equal to 2 over 5. Anong ibig sabihin yan? So after 1 hour na na-inject yung drug sa patient's bloodstream, ang concentration ng drug ay 2.5 milligrams per milliliter. Yan. So, how about after 2 hours? Gaano naman ka-concentrated yung drug makalipas ang 2 oras? So, C of 2, substitute lang natin ulit, is equal to 5 times 2 divided by 2 square plus 1. Okay? So, simplifying, we have C of 2 is equal to 5 times 2 here is 10. 2 square is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So, therefore, C of 2 is equal to 2 since 10 divided by 5 ay positive 2. So, anong ibig sabihin yan? Makalipas ang 2 oras na na-inject yung drug sa bloodstream ng pasyente, yung concentration ng drug will be equal to 2 milligrams per milliliter. After 5 hours. After 5 hours naman po. So C of 5 is equal to 5 times 5 divided by 5 square plus 1. So that is 5 times 5 is 25. 5 square is 25. So 25 plus 1 is 26. 25 divided by 26 is equal to 0.962. And lastly, after 10 hours naman, C of 10 is equal to 5 times 10 divided by 10 square plus 1. That is, so 5 times 10 is 50. 10 square is 100. So 100 plus 1 is 101. So C of 10 is equal to 0.495. So as you can see, dito sa table natin, habang papatagal ng papatagal, so after 1 hour, after 2 hours, 5 hours, and 10 hours, papaliit naman ng papaliit yung concentration ng drug. So from 2.5 to 0.962, 0.495. So as interpretation, the table of values indicate that the maximum drug concentration occurs around 1 hour after the drug was administered. After 1 hour, the drug concentration decreases until it is almost zero. So those are just some of the representations of real life situations using rational functions.